Well, hello again, and welcome to my video or my tutorial on how you can make a custom interior panel for this car, your car, or any car. And this trunk lid here is going to be the victim. Now up there you see there's a little bit of Dynamat work that was done there. Also you see that little wire. That wire runs to this satellite antenna, which was mounted on the other side of the trunk lid. Now typically most people would just leave the wire and leave it alone, but not me, because of course I'm fanatical. So once it comes through the grommet, I have it running there, down through the grommet and up to the front of the vehicle. Now at the end of the day, what's going to happen is this trunk lid is going to match officially and authentically to the bottom. This is pretty typical dark charcoal trunk liner that's in the bottom of this trunk. Most likely the same crap that's in your car. All you need to do this job is right here. There's my knife. There's about 1.5 yards of the trunk liner, the glue, a drill, some screws, and of course I'm going to be using some Luan, which is the wood of choice that I'm going to use for this panel. And of course some screws. That should go without saying. Here's my wood stock. I just want to show you. This here is a standard MDF stuff that most people use, plywood and 1x3s, 1x4s, whatever. This here is just very thin, flexible, pliable Luan. It's very thin, bends very easily, it's very lightweight. That's the wood of choice for today's project. Alright folks, here we go. Now, all I'm using is just a piece of regular cardboard, just a standard cardboard box I just picked up from the warehouse. Doesn't need to be much of anything fancy. Had I had a choice, I would have chose to use some masking tape instead of this, but this is standard packaging tape. It'll work just fine. It's not that serious. Now this piece is going to be, there's going to be a bottom piece, and I'm going to make another piece on the top, which is going to go to around here at this point and overlap on the bottom piece, so it's going to give you the effect of one full, complete looking unit once it's actually done. But this is the way it usually goes when I start these kinds of jobs. Get yourself your first piece. Just slowly design it to the form you need it to be. Good to just use the car itself to your advantage, because the cardboard will adhere and make a mold. It molds kind of like a form line to the edges if you just push them in there a little bit. Take your time. You can see the shadow, and I can definitely see that. I'm just going to follow that along. Since this is a truck piece, I don't want to overlap to the bottom too much, because that could affect the water seal, so I'm going to just come on in a little bit right there. take patience. Certainly do. So I've just made some light cuts. I'm going to go up to that table, score them in, cut through and put it back on there. Try again. Whoop. Oh. So. See, that's definitely shitty looking. So, you want to try to stay within this outer lip. At least that's how I do it. Of course, soft deal with cutting around that as well, which is fine. Make sure I don't inhibit this stuff. It's kind of like just an art. You just kind of have to freehand it and go with it. Looks pretty good. You just add that one piece to the prior piece. Just keep moving until you get your whole template made. Fuck. Make sure you're very generous with your tape as you're making these patterns, because once you take them off, you don't want them to fall apart in your hands. Really mess up the whole works. Definitely gunges up the whole project. You can fantasize about that in a minute. I'm going to move on over to the left side now. Take a quick look at the right side so I can make a good reference. I mean, you could actually even see, you probably don't see it, but there's a rubber line right there. You can see it. That's what I'm using as my guide. There's another one. It's close to these edges, it's good to leave yourself a little room for wood and the carpet and that stuff. Now, I'm going to do the same thing I've done on the first piece and just kind of get an idea where my outline's going to have to be. Should be something like that. Just cut this out. It's almost perfect. Got this here. Piece out. That'll be good enough for government work. Tape ready. This. Just real quick. Get that lined up. Guy on there. And if at all possible, when you're putting these together, it's good to go around, catch a little of both sides when you're taping it on like this. I've seen you do that a lot. So this thing's almost halfway built. I know it's hard for you to see it or imagine it, but you got to imagine it when it's done, and it's all nice looking. I can see it. Depends on your level of imagination, what you can and can't see. Now, I can definitely see that this is going to be a problem for me. So, and again, this does not have to be super accurate, because when you make your wood and you put it up there and you get it all lined up, you get a little flexibility with the material and the carpeting and stuff, but for the most part you want it to be symmetrical to the eye, so when you look at it, it doesn't look like, you know, a who did it and ran. But as you can see, if you can see it the same way I can see it, this thing looks pretty god darn good. But I want to make sure that this stays congruent through the entire project. Right now I can see that it's not. That's just the way it is. So with this piece now, in my mind, ready to be cut onto wood, I'm going to pull this piece off. Try not to disturb my tape too much. Try to keep it, you know, as well as I can. I'm just going to go back to my table, cut along that line, and I'm going to give it another quick test fit before I start the top. So I was just over at my big table over there, and I cut along that marked line that I just drew a minute ago. So now I'm just going to get a good look at what we got. And I can definitely see I'm within my lines here, here. Everything's looking good. Look good. So now, just tape that thing in place and we start making the top piece. And you always make the top piece, whatever piece is going to be covering any piece below it, last. For aesthetics, you know, you always want to do that. There you go. this is not perfectly straight. I can see that. I'm sure you're probably looking at it saying, what is this dude doing? You know what? Stop freaking out. It's okay. It's not that serious, people. I'll show you why. Because when I put my top piece on, it's gonna basically start around here and here, and it's gonna cover all this shit anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference. This is only a trunk panel. This is not a major interior panel like a dash. You know, so you don't want to give yourself what I call paralysis by analysis with these little details. And when I used to do this all day long for a living for people, you can't go through your day thinking that way. You need to go through your day getting your work done. No one cares what they can't see anyway, because that's really all it is. So now the bottom is done. Okay. So this car has got this little handle right there, this black doohickey. So we're going to want to definitely work around that, leave this in place. And this piece has these plastic clippies. What I'm going to do with those is, actually I don't like these things are loose. So if this is either for your car or someone else's car, whatever the story is, I guess it's probably for your car, because you know, who's going to go through all this work for someone else's car for nothing, right? If you see little things like this, like loose clips, plastic pieces that can, you know, make noise and be annoying. You know, if you have like a stereo system like this thing's got this Memphis Mojo sub in there, and you know it's going to be a rattle box, address it in advance before you go forward. You know. So we're going to leave this in place. We're going to go around this, over that, and kind of just go right around here. That's pretty much the plan. It's my plan anyway. So let's not talk about it. Let's get this thing done. Cut some of this excess off. A bit much to deal with. What I'm going to do now is just, again, go around that lip. Try to get my pattern. And doing this is very unlike a lot of other things where in most jobs, you know, you typically want to use less because you can't take it back. This is the exact opposite. You can actually do it, take away, cut too much material. It's easier to add it back. It's the reverse of like cooking or doing something like that. pretty interesting, but it's the way it goes. So you can see I'm pretty much right, almost on the edge. All I'm doing here is like pretty much eyeballing this. So there you go. Not perfect, but close. Will be perfect in a minute. Get rid of that. Still. Now, like I was saying, you can always add, and I will need to add a little bit to this corner and a little to make it go from here to this point. As you can see, there's a chunk missing in there. It's a small problem. Nothing devastating, but still a problem. Here's a little bit harder than I'd like it to be. Back right up. And also we still have this handle here to deal with. So again, all I'm going to do is get it in place, bring it down, and just little by little. That's all you can do with these kinds of things. What I'm going to do is just make a small hole, and once I lay it up here, it'll give me a better idea, and I can lay it up. Maybe once I have a peephole, make a marker, and I can be more accurate. Get that cut out better. So this will be for this handle. This cut out a notch is for this area. Just like that. And there's my handle. Actually, that ain't too goddamn bad right there. I must say that's pretty damn good. Well, better than I thought it was. And this little handle here and here, don't overlook those little details because those are a safety feature. God forbid you ever get actually thrown into your trunk and get locked up and kidnapped or whatever happens. You want to leave these things intact. You know, don't be lazy and just cover them up because it's quick. Don't be that guy. Be the guy that does it right. So now, this piece here is just about there. So what I'm going to do, let's get this up in position. I'll show you how we make this thing just beautiful. So beautiful. Oh, okay. Now by this point you should have plenty of waste cardboard lying around. So just get yourself a little piece. This guy. And I want to make sure that this piece here makes it to here. It's got it. Fucking aggravating. I don't know if you're like me, but man, when it gets hot, I get fucking aggravated, man. It's stressful. It stresses me out a little bit. Especially when you're trying to concentrate and you got this fucking heat all the time. Let me just give you a closer up view, see what's going on here. This here is the piece I just added on that looked a little weird. And when I do cut this on wood, I'm just going to basically, it'll be straight and correct. But yeah, I'm just going to follow this around to this point to here, you know, and have a straight shot. But there'll be one solid piece on the bottom there, and there'll be a second on the top. And I will apply the bottom one first, which will give me the ability to hide the screws, and then I'll lay the top piece right above that, and that should look great. So I'm going to continue working on this top piece. I have about 2 more panels before I can start cutting it with the jigsaw. Here's a little thought that I just, or a lack of thought I should say, that I just came up with. When I was making this right side and I was going to just start making the left, I don't know why it didn't occur to me. It seems so stupid to me now that I can't believe I didn't think of it. But all I had to do was just basically take the right side, lay it on top of another piece of cardboard, trace it, and make it the same for my left. So that is what I did off camera, so you don't need to see that. But that is what I did. I'm going to put that piece on next. There you go. There's the right top piece. This is the opposite of this I just traced. That should be my left side, and it's identical to that side, so that's also very good because symmetry is very important when making these types of things. Because my goal is always to try to mimic the factory's work, factory's look and appearance to the best of my ability. So, now there's another gap there, another piece I'm going to have to make and create a fill piece like I did on that side, just on the bottom, not the top this time around. That's okay. You can do it. simply tape the top pieces on for now. And make this filler piece at the same time. Such a good vibration. Such a sweet sensation. Okay, so look good. Look pretty good anyway. Tape gun. Starting to get somewhere. See, this you can tell when I do screw it on, it's gonna suck it up in there, kind of like that. Of course, you don't want any gaps in there, nothing like that. I'm happy with that. I like that. Looks good. Almost there, people. Alright. All we need is this panel and we're gold. And again, so much of this stuff is just eyeballing. Such a sweet sensation. Okay. The only importance in this panel right here is keeping the same dimension as at the bottom of this panel, so that way it's all straight and flush. Aside from that, I mean, I'd say that looks pretty goddamn good. Now once this whole thing is wrapped up in this nice trunk liner material, I mean, you can't tell one from the other. It all looks perfectly nice. It's just the same. So I'm just going to firm these pieces up just a little bit before I go ahead and pull them down and throw them on the saw. Cut my panels out of wood. And I would suggest that when you do this for yourself, you're going to have little, spots, like for this handle. I'm going to remember that there's a little bit of a gap there, so, I'll probably make up for that somehow, either by putting carpet underneath, like actually on the trunk lid itself, and putting this on top of it just to make it flow and blend up, nicely. Up in here, I mean, you could be creative and make a flap if you're really anal about, seeing any light through anything. When you put your hardware on there, put your screws in select areas, like one up in here, maybe one in there, to keep, the shape. If you're really trying to hug it in there, just get a good idea, look at it, and see if there's going to be anything that's going to become a problem for you before you go ahead and get this whole thing made and go to install it, just to find out that something's screwed up that you have to redo it again. Like, for instance, on my panel here with this barometers, not that it looks bad, but I think that it could be better if it was not laying all over this. So I'm going to do something like that, just so that way it looks, again, more factory, more nice. And on here, I have to remember that from here to here, I have to fill that in with wood. And I'll actually write that on there, in case I forget. little arrows. Cut, line, to line. That point there to that point there. And that's pretty much it. Now it's all to the woodwork. Very gentle at this point. Get cream. Okay, see how it looks. Jesus. Good booty job. Ah. This is when you make your little marks. You fix all this stuff. See, it's should be higher from here to here. Should be cut more there. But overall, when you put these two together, although not perfect, you kind of get the idea. It's a little TLC, you know, it'll look good. You need help, so do you. Cut it off. Alright, so here's the latest. After I cut the two materials, the bottom was off a little bit, so what I did is I used the top with some help from a friend. I just made a concave bend, and I got the bottom equal. It was equal anyway. Laid that in place, just sitting there, just resting on a spun screw tentatively. Up on the top, I placed that in there as well. I have two drywalls holding that in place. And then I'm just kind of like pushing things around to see where they're going to fit best. So you can see, you know, they're really nice and congruent, and they're fluently holding nice together. But when I get the panels up real snug like this, of course the idea is you want to have a smooth edge on both sides, which you can see we do not have. So what we're going to have to do to fix that, it's not that big of a deal, but we do have to do it. And what that is we're going to get that up where it's going to be in place. Make some marks right here to right here. And I have to draw a straight line. Bring that down so that way when these two are up, snug up against the metal, it's going to have a nice flow from here to there. I'm going to do the same on that side. I'll come on back to this shortly. Real quick, I just want to give you a close-up of what I'm doing. I have a drywall holding this right side here up on the top piece. You can see I drew this line to try to keep this bottom piece perfectly in line to the top, so when it gets sucked in and screwed to the sheet metal of the inside of the trunk, that they stay smooth. So that's what I've done here. And you can only do that when you have these screws in place, because you can see just how tight and snug they keep them to the edge of the car. And down here, this is going to get sucked up as a natural fact of when you pull the whole top piece in. That's going to happen. This here is another main screw basically holding this whole side together, and I needed the aid of one extra one in this area, which I did. And once I pushed this all together, again, you can see I have the line to keep it smooth to the bottom panel. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take all this, both pieces off, take the jigsaw out, cut all those mark lines off, put them in there one more time for another test fit. Then I'm going to go to carpeting the materials, and then I'm going to go with the final installation on this whole bit. Now in this tutorial, I am going to cover both of these custom panels that I have built. These are going to be covering the top of a trunk lid with this material, which is charcoal. This is a trunk liner, a thinner type of material than we sell than the acoustic type of the fluffy stuff that you would put on a carpet for a speaker box or DJ equipment or something to that effect. This is much more stretchable, and it's got two different type of textures on it. The back, which has a very unappealing looking type of design to it. Make sure you always take good notice of that, as opposed to putting the correct side on the right side, because it happens. I know it sounds silly, but it happens. This here is just some standard spray glue that we use. It's pretty common in most car audio shops and most upholsteries. It's called Dan-Tac. I mean, there's 3M, there's several other ones out there. This stuff here is the cheaper stuff. I actually prefer it just because it just works for me, and I don't like spending $15 to $20 on a can for something that I can simply get away with for much less expense. And here I have a little less than 1 yard of material, which I'm going to use for this job. Just orientating my panels so that way I can get a good idea of how I'm going to attack them. And I suggest you do the same. For these I only need to have enough to wrap around the side, because it's going to get terminated by screws and hidden, so it's not critical that the seams look great, but nonetheless I still like to try to be thorough as I can. So with that being said, I'm just going to write top on that one, and the same for this one here. And the reason why I do that is because when I'm ready to assemble everything, I want to make sure I put the right sides in the right spot, right size. Now the reason why I'm gluing the carpet, and I'm also going to glue this, is very important that you do that, because it's really going to give you the best adhesion. It's the most equal and even type of adhesion that you can ask for, and that's very important. You don't need to go totally nuts. You can see about how much I'm using on mine. Of course, be sure that your material is nice and taut and there's no lumps and bumps in it. And if you can, try to avoid spraying this nasty glue over anything that matters to you. I was the victim of ruining one of my best shirts just the other day from this stuff. My wife had a heart attack. She's like, "Yeah, you're not supposed to do that." I know, dear. I should know better. So, there's one. Voila. There's my other guy. I need to do. Just gonna leave myself. That's enough. It's very important that you have a nice new blade on your knife when you're doing this, by the way. The old rule of thumb still holds true today, and that rule is you'll never get cut with a sharp blade. You'll only get cut with a dull one. That's the truth. So I'm just going to cut these two, separate them, get them away from one another for the time being, so that way I can work a little bit more better. So the glue on both sides of the front on my panel and around the edge of the carpet I'm going to be using. You also want to spray a little bit around the edge of the back. This panel is also going to have a little hole here because there's a handle in the trunk lid where this is going to be mounted up. So let that one chill for a minute. Come back to this one. Now, this trunk liner is very nice. It's easy to work with. And if at all possible, try to work using only the amount of material that you need, so that way you don't have so much excess, so you don't have to deal with so much aftermath with the mess of the abundance of extra carpet that you don't need. Especially on a job like this. This is not, doesn't have to be pinpoint accurate by any means. But why struggle if you don't have to? And this is just going to be a simple wraparound tuck kind of job. So I'm just going to cut my corners. Start to work it in there. You want to start on the long sides and leave your corners till later. What I like to do is just get a 45, like so. Bring it in, cut it on that 45-degree angle, and take the other piece that's left, pull it in the opposing direction, make the other end of my 45 so that way it should look, you know, perfect, seamless. Like so. Corner to corner. Same thing, corner to corner. Pull it down in the direction of the other corner, by the way. And even if there is a tiny little bit that you can see, you can always fluff it, you know, with a knife or your finger, should you need to. That's the beauty of using these types of materials. They're very forgiving. Very much. See how easy that is? No big deal. Just take your time and be conscious as you work. panel is done. You don't want to wait too long between panels, if at all possible. I can work very quickly, and you know, I wouldn't advise that you take on multiple panels such as I'm doing. I would advise you to just do one at a time, take your time. And you have pieces like this that intersect. Trying to leave room for both. Like that. That's what I mean about having too much material. Too much material is just can be a very frustrating point to deal with sometimes. My glue is starting to not stick so well anymore, so what I'll do in this case is I'm just going to continue to work quickly. And I'll cut the excess off. We are ready to assemble this and get these panels on this trunk lid. There's the top. I'll put that on second. Do the bottom piece first. Now, you can see that the material looks very good. Matches the trunk. It's almost like a 9 out of 10 match. And there's the back. Pretty straightforward. Now this here is just a piece that me and a friend of mine here that helped me do this applied earlier, just to, because we had some drama cutting the bottom piece concave to match the angle and, you know, the whole barrel bolt looking thing we got going on. So that screw I think we're going to have to say goodbye to. You know. And what we're going to do is get some butyl and fill that hole. That is what we shall do now. There for the moment. Now, when I do drill this into the trunk, the sheet metal at the inside of the trunk, let me just go over this one very important point with you before I go ahead and do it, as if I know what I'm doing and no one else watching should be allowed to. Now, you can see from here to here, this is the outside of the trunk, of course, no big deal. So there's really very little space and forgiveness to work with to even think about putting a screw here. In areas such as this, though, you do have plenty of room. Like this one here is a 1-inch fine thread drywall screw. I'll just show you real quick. I like these. I prefer these. And there's several ways that you can do this. So you can do, you know, with the old screw caps, which I can show you. I have some. Show you really quick here. These here are screw caps. Let me just focus the camera. Yeah, come on. And this camera's not focusing for shit today. I kind of felt like you got cheated when I was trying to explain to you about these screw caps. This is one of these screw caps I was talking about, where you could just take your screw, put it inside. Once it's fully down and recessed inside the lip there, you could see the top with a little button, which you've seen these, I'm sure, in, you know, all kinds of places. RVs, boats use them, campers, stuff like that. But enough of this, we ain't using these. In case you were interested, these are the 1-inch drywall screws that I am using. Fine thread, these work fantastic. They grab the wood and the carpet, excellent. They're super good for sheet metal too. So that would be my recommendation. So with that said, this here is the bottom panel. Okay. I'm going to show you the trick that I prefer, my favorite, do these pieces. Doesn't require any extra parts or any other, stuff. It's just very straightforward. It's just going right into the metal. I mean, up in here, there's no. All right, so all right. There's a lot of pieces in there, pretty good. I made us 2 small slits. With my knife that disappeared. Sorry, I'm starving. I haven't eaten lunch. So this harness here kind of lays on that left side, so I'm going to stay to the right. Pop a little screw in there. Right over here where it's a little floppity floppity. Stick another one right in there. To the right side-ish. You know what? On second thought, I can do better. Since this panel is going to be a form-fitting panel and I see that there's a little space here on the sides, I'm going to opt to go for the sides instead. That's what I'm going to do. Now here, it's a little scary. Not a lot of depth in this metal in this area here. So what I'm going to do is I'm still going to go for it because I've got balls of steel. But I'm going to be very careful. There's nothing wrong with doing scary shit, just as long as you do it with some intelligence and forethought. Just know what you're doing before you do it. So with that said, I'm going to use 2 screws. These are a little longer than I'd like to see, so I'm not going to put them in fully. That's good. That'll work. Don't even need to go any further than that. Need to push it. And the same thing goes for here. I pulled it into the point where I'm happy. It looks really nice from the side profile. We're good. Leave it. Last but not least, it's my top piece. There you can see the profiles on the side fit good. Goes right around everything very nicely. All my edges look nice. Conform to the factories very well, I think. I hope you agree. Once this thing's all screwed in there and all, this thing should really be outstanding. So, just make a couple notches. Start my screws there. Do one here. These are the 2 most important screws that you're going to do, especially with this particular type of job, because they're going to determine how everything else is going to lay out after the fact. It's pretty critical. do for a magnetic bit right now. Gosh, this is such a pain. Oh. Ah, nuts. Things like that'll happen. Get caught up in a screw and drive you nuts. Alright. Whew. Just got a quick peek so you can see what you people see. God damn, that looks good. Oh man. That looks like factory, man. This thing looks like from Chrysler to Cadillac. Overnight. Now, I got that one screw there. I mean, how crazy do you really got to get, you know? You got one in there. I mean, you got a lot of pressure that's holding this thing together. What I'm thinking is one more here, and that's a wrap. Let this thing be. It's a good thing because I only got like 2 screws left. Notice that I'm going in this spot is a reason why, because it's on the curve, it's at the point of the curve that's most critical to this thing looking good or not looking good. So if you're working with a curve, concave kind of surface like I am, you know, be sure to take that into consideration. Just make sure everything lines up straight down the line. Very important. One down, one to go. There you have it. I'll give you guys a close-up. Whew. Look at that shit, huh? God damn, this guy's good. Oh, fuck yeah. Trunk. There's your color. I'll try to give you both at the same time. Look at that shit, huh? Come on. Who is your daddy? And what does he do? He do the good shit, man. That's what he do. There you go, man. Custom, nice, seamless, straight. Everything forms in there just nicely. Beautiful. Look at that corner. Look at that corner. I know the screw is screwy, but I just got to deal with that when I get home later because this just looks like shit for right now. And there, straight up, seam, round, handle, everything's there, working perfectly. Room for the factory handle to escape should you need to. They want to take you hostage or do their cars because you did such a nice job on your own. And that's it, man. If you got any questions about doing this kind of stuff, I don't mind helping the next guy out. I mean, just because I do it and I make it look easy, I understand for somebody that's doing this for the first time, it's anything but, and I respect that. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a try. See what you can do. You never know until you try it.